then Griffin wins. Because they've got the red side the more times available to them in this best of 5. That's right. See, once again, over on red.
Because of the higher seed in summer, Griffin has choice of sides games 1, 3, and 5. Given this is our 3rd game in a row of a team choosing red side, does seem like Griffin will be able to 3-2 when it comes to red side choices. Actually winning on the red side is going to be a different beast. Speaking of different beasts, we had a lot of support bans last time Griffin was on the red side. This time, they're going to ban the Aatrox, even though Aatrox was anonymous for Afreeca Freecs in game number 1. So things changing. See CV Max holding up his notes, looking for the adjustments.
Well, Tom once again going to be banned away here, second from Afreeca. The adaptation here, based on game number 1, is the fact that Ryze is banned instead of Morgana. Saw the ban happening in our first game of the night. Rakan going to be taken away from Tucson for the 3rd time in a row. Here on the side of Griffin.
See where the Alistair priority is in terms of picks and bans. Was first picked from Griffin in game number 2, but wasn't able to find value out of that pick was Lahens. 3rd ban for Afreeca on blue side. There's been very few target bans. But here we go. We see one finally. They're saying we want to first pick Varus with a Misfortune ban. The laning phase, which seems like an age ago, was actually really triumphant for Viper, who's on your screen right now. So we'll ban away the Misfortune, trying to open up the first pick Varus.
Well, Griffin do have the opportunity to ban it away here. The other option is, of course, that Talir that hasn't even had a look in for this entire series, but the Gragas is going to be the option from Griffin, denying that from Spirit that certainly has been his clutch pick so far in the playoffs.
So now you're on blue side. Varus has been leaned towards with the Misfortune, but the Swain comps have been working as well. So how do Afreeca Freecs look at this first pick? The support pool is down a Gragas, a Rakan, and a Tahm Kench, given that Gragas support has been played by Tucson a couple of times this season. They're going to steal away the Shen. This is one, of course, that Lahens gets very infrequently. They will leave open the Varus, though. Let's see how Griffin approaches the red side draft. You could definitely understand something like Olaf Varus, but the Olaf priority has been called into question a little bit after game number 2.
I think even just the bottom lane being locked in of Varus, Alistair, or something like that here on the side of Griffin certainly could be an option here. As their Alistair priority was certainly pronounced in game number 2. In the draft, anyway.
It would be very suspicious if the Varus wasn't taken here. So, kind of interested in both sides of the coin, whether it's picked up or if it's not picked up, what we want to see come out in game number 3.
Wow, okay, Olaf is going to be considered. So Griffin asking Afreeca whether they're going to be pairing the Shen with the Varus once again to see whether they have something else they can throw towards that bottom side. Draven comes to mind.
See, to me, I look at this draft and I think Kai'Sa comes to mind because Kai'Sa was banned in game number 1 and isn't banned in this particular game.
Was banned in game number 2 as well. Thanks for reminding me, Papa.
So if a marksman's taken in first round, I could definitely see Chovy lock in the Kai'Sa. Does end up being the Olaf for Tarzan after all. Denying away Predator junglers as Spirit brings back an oldie but a goodie. So this one over in the NALCS, of course, as Svenskeren rocked out against Team Liquid. And now we're seeing Spirit, another legendary Lee Sin player, bring back the pick as a 1v1 choice into Olaf. Most people outduel Olaf. After 6, Spirit can just straight up kill it.
Yeah, that's exactly how that one's going to work. It doesn't matter whether you've got Ragnarok available, because Dragon Rage Kick turns out it does a lot of damage, as the Varus is, of course, going to be locked in for Kramer. It's been undefeated thus far.
Do you Kai'Sa if you are in the bot lane as Viper? Do you do it? Is kind of what he's talking about. It's probably going to be his pick. Snapped up by Chovy unless they want to take a mid laner and start banning. Would imagine bot lane though. See what Griffin decide. They're actually thinking about taking the Ezreal here. So they go for the safer choice, a more reliable laning phase, but not a triumphant one, into the Varus by any means. So they're going to go for Ezreal Alistair, an old King Zone favorite from spring season. It's very much a maneuverable bot lane. It does mean that Lahens can do some roaming and Ezreal will be safe enough to 1v2 under turret. Doesn't inspire the most confidence, but return to the Ezreal. The bans begin, and they're going to ban away Kuro's LeBlanc.
Yeah, Kuro's LeBlanc going to be taken away. Certainly a comfort pick for Kuro, but another pretty comfortable pick into Zoe that Chovy is looking to pick up. Afreeca probably need to ban that one away if they don't want to see it. A lot of other options here as well, as they could be targeting Sword. The Gnar going to be taken away from him. Suffered his first loss on the pick in the LCK in our last game, and isn't going to see it in this one.
Had a lot of fun watching Damwon Gaming qualifying for the promotion tournament with their victory yesterday. In Game 2, where if they won the game, they were auto into the promotion tournament as the first seed. In Challengers, they picked Katarina into Zoe. Amusingly, Katarina's a favorite pick of Kuro in the past. So
hey, yeah.
if he actually had the spheres to bring it out here, that would be pretty incredible. Just want to shout out Damwon Gaming. It's probably not going to happen this game, but cool to see the Katarina in competitive play whenever people can make it work. If you don't ban Zoe, surely Griffin have to take Zoe, and that's where you start thinking about the next levels.
Yeah, where is it actually going to come in? Because, of course, we've seen Ezreal and Zoe picked up together so many times, as it's going to be Orianna taken away from Chovy. So
pretty obvious Zoe pick.
Yeah, Afreeca knows that it's going to be Zoe.
This is definitely the nice bouquet on the Zoe. How you feeling? Here you go.
Yeah. We wrapped it up for you. Are you going to take it? Are you going to pick it up, Griffin? That's what Afreeca's asking. And Griffin say, well, I guess.
This is definitely the trepidation, though. There's no instant. This is, well, I mean, I guess so.
Thank you, I think. And now what does Afreeca have? What is the plan? What is
Syndra,
going to be the rounding out of this composition?
A lot of picks exist, right? Syndra, the Cat, the Fizz on this power level on 815. A lot of things can be taken. Not all of them are auto wins.
Or Varus.
This would be Varus mid lane into the Zoe. It's something you could consider, but isn't really necessarily going to be as dominant as some of the other choices. Seems like they're going to do it anyway, so they end up with Kai'Sa into the Ezreal. Pretty comfortable matchup for her, so that part feels good. It's going to be Kuro just sticking on a much more standard lethality Varus in response. What about the blind pick top laner? Is Keen feeling just blind pick Quinn? Because it's one thing to red side Quinn, it's another thing to blue side blind pick Quinn.
She was pretty damn good in game number 1. Didn't know whether Griffin had too many great options into her either, as Cannon is going to be the choice. So a little bit of teamfight power, but also split push power, and gives Keen the option of choosing between which, based on what Griffin are going to do here.
Now, if you're Sword, you might Cho'Gath here, because Cho'Gath has been taken away the entire series. It does mean another pretty low initiation comp for Griffin, though they'd need their Olaf to be really in the enemy jungle and running the pace of the game. Orin could be considered for initiation, but then wouldn't have the same lane. So they're going to Cho'Gath anyway. You actually hear a groan from the crowd, as I think they've also been lamenting how often Griffin will fall back on no initiation choices with the Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath has been an unlucky pick for Griffin, but they end up going for safety first, which is usually the Sword way.
And pretty incredible Baron. Secure and turn availability here from Griffin, given the fact that Sword will build pretty early Warmogs and just shrug off any Baron damage. Not necessarily the fastest one, but we'll be able to secure it and tank it for a very long time if they want to. Afreeca very squishy on the other side of the Rift, though. This is going to be your matchup, and you can hear there's a bit of apprehension in our voices when we're looking at the red side composition. We're expecting this to be the team with the comp that looks the strongest. Griffin falling back to an old composition, but not necessarily the most successful one.
The problem is...
Damn, Afreeca fans have certainly jumped on this hype train, especially the ones that have turned up here today in the Seoul East Stadium. Last time for 2018 LCK in this particular venue.
Griffin fans still going to be representing, even if the Cho'Gath pick didn't make everyone lose their minds in a positive way. And Afreeca fans can pray to their Godfist, as we see Godfist Lee Sin being run by Spirit.
I always thought it was Spirit Fist.
Well, it's a good matchup. It's not necessarily been super one-sided in the past, but we're talking about some old school jungle matchups. Where we have Olaf versus Lee Sin. For specifically Spirit, who obviously played a good portion of his career in China, also in the EULCS for Fnatic. His second most played in Korea, this is only Korean stats, is Lee Sin. 29 wins, 14 losses. And here is his LCK totals, not including international events, and also some non-LCK tournaments as well. Around the same win rate. It is definitely a legendary pick for Spirit.
Certainly is. See whether he can make it work here this game, as Tarzan is third game in a row on the Olaf. Not necessarily his quintessential pick, as we're going to have a look at Kuro on the Varus as well. 11-1 is a pretty damn good win rate on the mid Varus.
They're going for this Trundle gank path where you just hard farm the red buff and then look for a bot lane gank. We're not going to see it from the Lee Sin, but Lee Sin has gone his red onto the enemy side. He's going to go Gromp blue buff as a steal. So we'll see if vertical jungling is actually diagnosed here. I don't
Looks
believe
like
Spirit
no.
has been spotted at all because the ward was quite shallow, and Spirit went around the ward that is placed on the blue buff. So while Tarzan is able to go to his blue, only his Gromp is stolen away, and Spirit's looking for more.
Yep, Sonic Wave should land here. Lands onto the blue buff, meaning that Tarzan stays alive. He's got no mana. The undertows aren't going to be freely flowing towards this blue buff. As Spirit, he's got the safeguard. He's got the advantage.
And he's Lee Sin versus Olaf, and he's leveraging that matchup early. So I love the path here. Was the hard push bot lane. Your first line is, Trundle style gank bot lane, but instead steal the Gromp, try to kill the enemy jungler at his blue. And now no blue buff Olaf seems like a real reality because he didn't know straight away to opt into the vertical jungling.
And this could be another one of those score masterclasses that we saw earlier of how to dismantle a jungler, which is the double scuttle into 3 buff as well. Tarzan looking for it here, but Spirit's going to land the Q. That means that Tarzan, not a lot of options because he doesn't have a lot of mana. The red buff's ticking. He has the level advantage, looking for another Q, doesn't get it. Flash has to be used to escape Kuro's Q button.
That was 2 points in Q, would have killed him. I think at one point he might have just lived, but you can't make that calculation when you don't know. Forced to back away, and now Tarzan has no blue, no scuttle, no dreams about being an early game powerhouse. And now the draft goes into the worry that you were alluding to in pick and ban. The way Griffin win this game is that Ezreal does his Ezreal thing, gets 2 items, Chovy gets 1, you roll into mid lane with the first turret, and then Olaf walks up to the enemy jungler and overpowers them. The Lee Sin was the surprising choice from Spirit that wins the 1v1 in a lot of those trades, and now the early game from the Olaf is going to be power farming his own jungle, not only battle warding, which is where Olaf usually thrives when he's in the meta. So given those things, a lot of those early game win conditions, the checklist from Griffin kind of has to be ripped up and rewritten because it's going to need different variables to get them ahead enough to purely pull off the Olaf and Zoe Ezreal siege.
Yeah, and the only way that Griffin can play with any assertion is if they know exactly where Spirit is. And right now they have absolutely no idea to discover, no way of discovering that. Ward available for Sword on the top side of the map, but you could see the cannon with complete lane dominance up there as well. Afreeca Freecs, they needed to play around having this pretty lackluster lane in the Kai'Sa and the Shen on the bottom side. And to have a Lee Sin that's doubling the farm of an Olaf and 3-buffing him and taking every single Rift Scuttler and everything like that, that's one way of doing it, Papa.
Definitely relieves pressure, because if you had the aforementioned plus an Olaf killing Lee Sin, then things fall apart really quickly. Now things a lot more comfortable. The Varus mid lane's all about safety. Could have gone many different ways into the Zoe, but the LeBlanc, which is the common counter pick into the Zoe, is banned away. Even the Azir was banned away, so just fell back onto the Varus.
Well, Spirit safeguards his way over. Also gets a deep ward down here as well, which is in a useful position.
He's just freezing the wave here for his mid laner.
Holding onto it.
Very unselfish stuff from Spirit. Wants to make sure that Varus can pick up basically every CS.
Gets all of the experience for the CS as well, so wants to make sure that he gets to the Chains of Corruption as quickly as possible. Kramer seeking with his W, but doesn't find anything.
And now, given the Lee Sin situation, seems more and more likely Kramer and Tucson with teleport Kai'Sa and just the Shen support are going to get to the mid-late game, going to get to 2 items, and be able to match Viper when theoretically Viper should be at his strongest point.
Yeah, also predicting that Viper was going to be picking up the teleport as well, so just not caring about matching combat summoners or anything like that, just having as much mobility as possible. Chovy actually struggling here. Of course, we know that Varus has been an option into the Zoe many times, but it's not a pick that you expect Afreeca Freecs to flex, just with how good Kramer is on Varus, forgetting the fact that Kuro has got a ludicrous win rate on the pick.
I mean, the play pattern of Zoe is often more conditional on the jungle matchup than really her own power, because if she can just use her abusive ranges with no fear of repercussion, then she keeps fishing and eventually, you know, gets the bonanza hit and you're forced out of lane or you die. When your enemy jungler has the run of the map, when you have no wards down and your jungler can't even go into the river and hope to get a scuttle, then you just pull back and cue the minion wave and you look a lot more balanced. So in this particular case, Chovy's laning phase is a symptom of the jungle matchup more than of Chovy's play at all.
Yeah, I believe so. Chovy's play also going to be dampened by the fact that he has to get double cloth armor moving towards a very early Seeker's Arm Guard in the matchup just to make sure he doesn't get Q harassed to death forever.
Spirit is definitely holding up his hand for
hell yeah.
playoffs MVP. He has been at a completely different level from the regular season. He's been god moding it more often than not. Game 1, he was a bit of a passenger, but games 2 and 3. And now feeling the flair of the Lee Sin. You always know he has that mad scientist streak. We'll never forget his Worlds qualification gauntlet Lulu jungle that he played multiple times.
Yeah.
In 2017.
Oh man, I'd forgotten. Absolutely beautiful. It's a very different story because pulling out a Lee Sin, we haven't seen from him for a very long time.
Lee Sin. He still wants to keep killing.
Oh yeah.
In case there was any worry about that.
Well, he's going to be able to clear out his jungle extraordinarily quickly and then move on to killing Olafs as quickly as he likes.
Yeah, he clears out Raptors and Olafs about the same speed.
Yeah.
In case you guys are wondering, 8:15 is when the Lee Sin changes came in. Doesn't have the 8% missing health damage anymore, but definitely does more damage at early to mid game very, very reliably because he now has increasing damage percentage with how low the enemy is. So while he doesn't have missing health damage, he does do more damage when the enemy's health bar is low.
Yeah. It's not kill more so much on the side of the Lee Sin.
Well, I mean, it kills squishies a lot more.
Yeah.
That's the big change.
So let's take down the backline as quickly as possible, but he's not going to be killing Sword as quickly as he used to be.
That part is true. Rolling around. His Spirit's happily farming up. This early game has gone to plan. The Lee Sin pick on the blue side seems to be more consequential than any of the counter picks available on the red side, which was Griffin's side of choice.
Yeah. And this is also, you know, one of the incredibly fast farms. The Gromp now with the Tiamat. The absolute dream. Slahens was faking out putting a ward in that brush. I believe spotted Spirit there with the sweeper that he had around him. But Afreeca Freecs pretty calmly playing this one towards the bottom side. Only 8 CS down, which is absolutely fine for a Kai'Sa that's building Rageblade first, which is what Kramer looks like he's doing. Interesting. Often seeing Stormrazor picked up first now for our Kai'Sas of the LCK, but first time we've seen Kramer on it quite some time as well.
We're seeing Keen do his best Quinn impersonation on the cannon. It is not going to be an AP cannon this game. You can tell from the press the attack.
Yeah.
As the keystone choice, and of course the play the Ruin King that's on the way. Merc Treads was the first buy from Sword, which he probably didn't know for sure. He would have seen the press the attack, so he would have known, but I think he just went Merc Treads for CC reduction, as eventually he might just get picked by Varus into cannon ult, Shen ult, and say Shen taunt as well. Doesn't necessarily have the armor starting just yet. Gonna do that with the Righteous Glory as the first purchase. Keen is much more about 4-1 because we just had a game where they played Quinn, the epitome of a 4-1 champion, and won from the power of the Quinn in the side lane. Can do a great Quinn impersonation and try to turn the wheel around the same way, this time on the on-hit cannon.
Well, good ward here from Lahens. Does spot Kramer out so he doesn't land that Void Seeker. And Griffin are at least able to keep control over the bottom side of the map. First time we've seen our pool party Zoe being utilized here, for myself anyway, while I've been casting. Cute one. Still Zoe though, unfortunately.
Yeah. Can only put so much polish on Zoe. Still Zoe.
Reminds me a lot of pool party Rek'Sai though. The tunnels and the portal jump looking very similar.
I'm always waiting for Rek'Sai to show up. Yondu I should say, played his Amumu game, but never played his Rek'Sai game.
Yeah, it's a bit sad.
Tarzan has been unable to really take over this game. I imagine we're going to see the shutdown on the offensive build, the Black Cleaver, or into the combat stats as heavily as he's been doing in games 1 and 2. Cinderhulk going to be the first item here, which does seem to confirm that. Might actually be Cinderhulk from Spirit and a Titanic Hydra Lee Sin. Wait and see. Of course, Black Cleaver also a possible pickup for the Lee Sin, so options open from Spirit. Doesn't want to be too squishy in the early game.
Now Ruby Crystal is the one that is plaguing your mind as for the amount of options that he does have.
Ruby Crystal might be the most flexible item in League of Legends. It builds into basically everything.
Yeah, basically everything.
Whenever they made, one of those buffs that I thought was really big that kind of went unthought of was Ruby Crystal building into Giant Spelt. This is a couple of years ago now, but that sort of flexibility means always thrift shopping a BF sword feels, a Ruby Crystal feels good in a way that not even Longsword can really copy.
Yep. Not those options, and you can even be, you know, a cannon. And if he built a Root Crystal, it's like, oh, that could be Leandri's Torment as well. And all of those options. Not this particular cannon, with the press of the attack already being picked up, but certainly a lot of flexibility available. Now Keen shoving things out very, very easily on the cannon top side. Griffin are doing the same thing on the bottom side of the map.
What I want the viewers at home to appreciate about how this game has played out, because no kills, theoretically it's just nothing happening. A lot has happened. We noticed that from how strong Lee Sin was and denying the Olaf. Olaf has done nothing this game. The intention of the red side Zoe Ezreal draft with this Olaf was, let's roll down and have a big item lead on the Ezreal, the Olaf, up in CS against the Lee Sin, and by 15 to 17 minutes, the bot lane turret goes down and we're mid lane sieging. In this particular game, the Rage Blade's already there onto the Kai'Sa. The items are already rolling in for Afreeca, and it's Afreeca's game so far as mid lane.
Yep, Kuro's just going to trade 3 people being in mid lane for his Ghost Blade cooldown, which I'd probably take if I was Varus.
Short version of this game is when Griffin is strongest, Afreeca are beating them. And we remain skeptical whether Griffin can actually swing this game fast enough to purely make value out of Zoe Ezreal's siege before Kai'Sa has 2.5 items and is ready to fight.
And Kai'Sa getting closer and closer to ready to fight, because you mentioned the fact that he did build the Rage Blade first. It means that that particular spike is there much faster than it would have otherwise been, trying to get Kramer to that mid-game point a little bit quicker.
Bot lane turret is still up, and Rift Herald, the objectives around the map, and this is an objective-focused comp from Griffin, are going the way of Afreeca Freecs, and now the Rift Herald can be used at any point just to end a laning phase.
Well, Kane, potential gank to come in here as Sword gets locked down for a moment.
What does it even look like, though, Atlas? They've got
Not
Control
sure.
Ward in basically every brush topside. So Olaf, thanks very much. You're going to have to RSVP at the door and be let in by the cannon to actually find a kill. Turret falling low. Lee Sin can even get some casual backs in and go by the Cinderhulk we were musing about. So the turret dives are there. The clearing from the Tiamat is there as well. See if a lot of other people will jump on the same hype train, as Spirit has been very influential. A lot of people jumping on to Predator Gragas to copy what he was able to do in the first 2 rounds of the LCK playoffs. The items keep rolling in for Afreeca, and the worry for Griffin is, when will they actually be able to mount any sort of threat? As it seems like Kai'Sa might be online before we even have a kill on the board.
Yeah, I guess you were talking about 2 items on Viper. He now has the Trinity Force completed. Cute little Mecha Pendant there hanging out. Sorry, Fairy Charm. Mecha Pendant not in the game anymore. Is
You're aging
going to
yourself
get caught
out.
out? I certainly am aging myself, but rip Mecha Pendant. It was way better than Fairy Charm.
When's Sword going to buy us Force of Nature?
Oh, I don't know. Is he playing Mordekaiser?
No, not Ormunda.
What a shame. Okay, this is also a shame for the Afreeca Freecs. Oh, okay. I take it all back. Tucson just going to dash his way out. Flash true shot barrage, but the damn stopwatch. You're talking about perfect timing. That's it for Tucson on the bottom side of the map, and that's what we wanted out of this almost MVP for our first split of 2018.
2 games in a row, he's in a god moment from Tucson. His taunt into pressing back the Blasting Plant behind the Baron in game number 2 was a delight. Didn't get to comment on it, so much action played around it. But then to this game at number 3, evading the gank in that fashion. He was completely aware of the scenario, and meanwhile, Keen's doing the cannon thing.
Yep, and Tucson's going to turn up. He wants another highlight play, potentially on the top side. It's going to get interrupted, as there's the ultimate utilized Sword. He's got nowhere to go, gets the feast. It's not enough! And Keen locks down the 1v1. That was so close for Sword.
Get dunked, says Keen. The top lane prodigy that came through this year is doing fantastic work. Rift out in mid lane, game blowing open for Afreeca Freecs.
Yep, Shelly's going to get the first charge. A little bit unfortunate that Kuro wasn't able to take down that turret. They wanted a fully charged charge on the inner turret in mid lane. Yes, Afreeca are talking about taking even more than everything else, as Chovy will at least be able to clear that one out, but this map has been blown open by the Afreeca Freecs.
The Lee Sin started it. This play kind of ends the early game that Griffin wanted to set up, just not happening. The interrupt on the Shen ultimate is why Cho'Gath goes for the emergency all-in. Feast is there, but nice flash away, out of range of the Vorpal spikes, and takes him down with an auto. Cho'Gath is dunked, the turret previously dunked, and that was solo gold going on to Keen. That's going to be a farmed on-hit cannon. And this game, where Griffin was all about controlling the map state, they have so little control over what happens when the game is where it is now.
Yep, it's pretty much all control out the window. First blood, first turret, second turret, everything in the hands of the Afreeca Freecs. Only a 2,000 gold lead, and they only have an Ocean Drake. It's nothing too crazy. Next one that spawns was a Cloud. So it's we're having a pretty we're having a rough day. It's the rough seas combination of dragons.
And again, why there was that audible gasp from the crowd is this has been a Griffin fallback comp a lot of times. Usually it's the Kai'Sa in the place of the Ezreal, but it's a comp basically champion for champion what they pick, which often has very low engage, has multiple lanes that go even or slightly worse when it comes to the 1v1. And now, because they weren't able to have Olaf crush the enemy jungler and let's patrol mid lane with 2-item Ezreal in King Zone and Spring fashion like we so often saw with their Ezreal Alistair games, right now, the comp can't really do anything, can't force anything. Every first option is there for Afreeca, who have more engage, who have more scaling, who are going to hit their item timings and weren't slowed down by Griffin out-executing them in the early game. When you get out-executed on a comp that needs perfect execution, you're left with basically nothing.
Yeah. And you're left staring down the barrel of a potential loss as another dragon is going to be taken here. Having a look at the total damage dealt for this game, it's unsurprising that Keen has certainly been the one ripping through. Sword on the top side. But now you've also got Kramer getting to a point where this Rageblade is getting charged up. He's going to be taking down this outer turret as well, getting the local gold available for him, and even denying all of the creeps underneath this turret as well. Getting a pretty nice back timing.
He's also going to have a huge power spike because right now he doesn't have Q or E evolved. He might have both on the same back if he gets enough attack speed with the pickaxe. Kuro doing Kuro things on the mid lane Varus. Very common red side flex pick for them, but doing it on the blue side this time and getting the Kai'Sa matchup. Sometimes everything falls into place where mid lane was passive as Lee Sin was rocking Olaf's world. Bot lane got a farm fest, which means we're going to have a double evolve of Q and E soon. In fact, it's actually going to be the AP Kai'Sa coming through this time.
All right.
They've got the on-hit on top. They've got the lethality in mid lane. Why not some ability power from the Varus?
Yep. Stinger is going to be coming in, heading towards the Nash's Tooth for Kramer. So it's been a while since we've seen the AP Kai'Sa. Does mean that he can build things like the Zhonya's Hourglass very easily, which means that Chovy's going to have a rougher time, and it's not going to mean that he spends 600 gold over and over again if he ever wants the stopwatch.
It's going to be more burst. That's what the AP Kai'Sa provides. As the 80 items are reworked, there was a time when you just go AP Kai'Sa because the 80 items kind of sucked. Now there is the AP items being pretty powerful.
Yep.
And with the 80 items going up, the burst is what you really get from the AP build. They have plenty of other damage sources that are mostly physical, so really don't mind indexing into both. If the laning phase goes worse, you don't go this way. Laning phase went really easy, so he's happy to go whichever way he wants.
And he's now split pushing as well. So Kramer, a lot of options. Teleport almost available, so he can be the split pusher in the Kai'Sa, theoretically. Kuro able to insta-clear waves almost with his piercing arrow. And Afreeca Freecs, this is the most control they've had all series. Griffin feels like this composition was one where they try and go back to what they know, but that's not what we wanted. Game one was a victory because it was genius out of Griffin. The way they played out the mid to late game looked like they had a completely different idea and a new idea that was based on how well they understood Afreeca Freecs' composition that game. This time around, it's Griffin saying, well, we want to play what we know, and it doesn't matter what they do.
Game one was them picking a meta comp that they didn't necessarily play into their strengths, so they were able to make a strength.
Yeah.
But you can only really force an issue so many different ways. You can only reinvent yourself so much in a week and a half's worth of games. This is Griffin. This is the Griffin we saw all throughout the second round robin when they started dropping Yasuo and Vladimir from the bot lane. When it started getting back to marksman, they played comps like this again and again. This is quintessential Griffin, and unfortunately, this is the Griffin that Afreeca Freecs would have prepped for, and they seem very easy to answer. Big shout out to Spirit because the Lee Sin pick has really allowed everything else to fall into place.
Despite the fact that Afreeca have only found one kill this game. It's everything falling around that. After that one big play, and Keen getting the solo kill as well means that absolutely no one got any sort of addition in that. Frozen Mallet picked up. Second item here for Keen as well.
I want to kill Cho'Gath. Now you have kill pressure on Cho'Gath that you didn't previously because you want to just be able to chase forever.
Yep, kite out of the way of the potential feast as well, meaning that Sword needs to flash on top of the cannon if anything's going to happen.
You don't build the same items when you are cannon into Cho'Gath as if you're a Quinn into Cho'Gath, but you have the same ethos, which is keep the Cho'Gath on the shortest leash possible, because guess what? You either kill him, or you kill his turret, or he can't have enough teleport health to actually come in on a teleport because it'll be too squishy and taken down previously. So you remove options from the Cho'Gath, and if Cho'Gath is just losing the minimum against Cannon, the 4-man crew of Griffin aren't going to have enough engage to punish the remaining members of Afreeca Freecs.
And Afreeca Freecs have got engage in spades. They can land Chains of Corruption, Sonic Waves, Spirit can do what he wants, but also Tucson piling in if any of that non-committal CC lands, and Kramer able to follow up pretty instantly as well. Means that it's just frightening times for Griffin. Keen in a side lane. You can see 80 carries matching off pretty comfortably here as we've got double tier build coming in from Viper, meaning that Kramer now with his 2-item spike feels really good on this AP Kai'Sa.
How does Griffin do something this game? I don't want to by something, I mean more than just doing what's dictated to them by a cannon pushing minions, thus killing the minions. That's not really doing something, even though it's an action. How do they do something proactively? It's what remains to be seen. A trouble bubble out of nowhere. It's a nice start.
Yep, landing onto the cannon is great news there as well, as Chovy almost just explodes him, and Sword's going to eat him for dinner. It's all too easy, and now Spirit might be gifted. Chovy going to be able to get another bubble to land, but in the meantime, we've got the Afreeca Freecs starting off this Baron. Are they actually going to be able to lock this down? Because everyone's on the bottom side.
They haven't checked it yet. They don't know.
Nope.
Really smart.
Once again, Afreeca Freecs invest bottom side. The rest of them, with no pressure, take a Baron.
Support and 280 carries able to take it down. Kai'Sa with the AP build is stacking up her passive so often that they have threat that Griffin just can't expect. There was a blue trinket up from Viper, but why would he check it is what he would be saying right now in comms. Surprised by Afreeca Freecs. Really nice move there. Sort of thing that really makes you reevaluate Baron speed.
Yep, a lot of pings topside, but you can see a lot of vision available there as well. So Kramer's going to get a fair bit of damage onto this top inner turret potentially, but decides instead that he wants to take himself a red buff. And Sword, unable to get there. Doesn't actually have Feast available. Oh, I mean did, but I just couldn't get there in time. And Griffin once again getting dictated to by the Afreeca Freecs. It looked like they had a great gank, but Afreeca had the perfect answer. And
this is the flashy thing to focus on. This is a significant outplay, hitting that trouble bubble there. I'm not talking about the amazing mechanics. It's just about where the game was at. It didn't feel like Griffin could make a move like this, but something out of nothing is what Zoe does best. They even get a second kill as Spirit doesn't have the ability to ward hop, so it just goes down. But the Baron is the true MVP play, even though the 2 kills are what the bloodthirsty fans will be focused on. Afreeca end up with an advantage out of nowhere.
Yep, and Kramer now with an instantly large rod as well, so it looks like he's going to be building the sweet hat for the ultimate damage option in the Kai'Sa. No Zhonya's, nothing like that. Doesn't even need a stopwatch, apparently. Kramer still hasn't actually had any big fights, any big moments, but he's farming more than that of the double tier Varus. Viper still wanting to scale as well. His Archangel's now completed, as well as his Muramana transformation. But probably not with the damage potential that Kramer has at this point.
Again, Griffin will find it very hard to reliably get picks like they managed onto Spirit and Keen. And they weren't even able to get an advantage off of those picks. They meet the Baron, just back on the split push. Tucson is here to bring up the Baron buff. That's not actually on Keen, because he went down in the previous play. They push up, they get another turret. The siege comp from Griffin may never get to Siege Atlas. That's just the reality of where this game is at. They're being pushed in with a siege comp. Baron goes the way of Afreeca. And if they can pick up a couple of cleanup picks, the game could just end as Griffin watches on in horror.
Yep, it's just complete suffocation here as Spirit looks like he's moving towards Deadman's Plate as his 3rd item as well, as Griffin say they're sick of it. They want to find a pick-off here as Tucson just zoning everyone away. Doesn't have it though, and that's going to be the bubble landing and spelling the death of the Ninja on the bottom side. Meanwhile, everything being taken elsewhere on the map by the Afreeca Freecs. Griffin had to try and make a play, but everywhere Afreeca are just answering.
And 3 lanes, they are losing out at the same time. Lens comes back in, but he's actually alone here.
Yep, and I may just straight up die as the stun comes down. Ultimate has to be invested, and Lehens didn't want to press that button.
I don't know about that decision, but I guess he was trying to buy time and ended up costing him quite a lot trying to make the play.
You can also feel the desperation from Griffin
They're getting stretched. Atlas, they were stretched in game number 2 because damned if you do, damned if you don't against Quinn, as we found out. 2 items rolled in and solo kill by Ignite Quinn. And now it's a 1-3-1, which is answering their siege that just could never be engaged. You don't think of Afreeca's comp as a 1-3-1, but AP Kais is so far ahead she can afford to do that and has so much outplay on a lot of the lane matchups that it's become a 1-3-1. There's so little control, so little agency. It sucks to be on this side. We've all played solo queue where, you know, you're a jungler, your lanes lose, you know you can't gank any of them because it'll be turned on you with your no vision situation, and that's kind of where Griffin is at in many ways, where they just have no momentum on the map. Their control wards have to be super shallow. There's areas where they can actually play a minimal, and the Voidseer comes out like that, does sick burst, and you worry that's going to be followed by a one-shot from the AP Kai'Sa.
Yeah, and Viper, very interestingly, has picked up Sork Boots on the Ezreal, understanding that he's probably not going to be brawling against this comp. He's going to be landing as much poke as he can, and True Shot Barrage going to be his best bet. So interesting choice. Does do a lot of magic damage with Essence Flux, True Shot Barrage, things like that, even Mystic Shot, I guess.
Notice how much vision Griffin have to place in their top lane, in the middle of the lane, to be able to farm it there. At the top, they have a control ward in the brush next to where the inner turret would be, and also a triangle of vision just so they can clear farm. They don't have the equivalent vision bot side. That's why Kramer is getting free CS as solo AP Kai'Sa in this particular scenario. He is the 1-3-1 we were alluding to. 1 member top, 1 member bot, 3 in the mid lane. He's just building up a CS lead, getting farm as AP Kai'Sa, which has no sustain. So compared to AD Kai'Sa, usually just gets chunked out if she has a lane opponent.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you really don't control the game state. Just feeling like Afreeca Freecs will keep up the full court press, pushing in every lane, and then both the Cloud Drake into Elder and the Baron should be free food for them.
And actually really like AP Kai'Sa in the side lane if you're just waiting for that person to turn up to try and gank you or something like that, because your Killer Instinct shield is so gigantic. But Kuro, he's caught out the Olaf here as Tarzan has to press Ragnarok and run. Lehens looking to make another play. Gets the flash and the cleanse out of Kuro, and now Griffin, they may have found their team fight. The Rupture's there, the Shen gets eaten as now Spirit is just stopwatching in the middle of a team fight, and Kuro gets exploded by a well-placed Paddle Star. Kramer split pushing bottom side. He might be able to take this inhibitor, and there's no Baron for Griffin to try and turn onto.
That's the problem. The Baron hasn't spawned, and that means they're not able to do anything to punish. Interrupt!
Yep, Kramer not going to be able to get anything done here, but Sword can't exactly fight this guy just yet. Doesn't have the feast, remember, but Tarzan available. He wants to get it. He takes down the 1-for-1 despite falling, did Kramer.
And that is why he stepped back first before he went. He wasn't sure if he could take the 1v1. Clearly, he could not. It ends up being a 1-for-1 overall, and Kramer keeps his flash as the insult upon injury. They can't take the Baron because it hasn't spawned. They're just fruitless kills for Griffin. It gets them triple the kills of the enemy team, but it gets them so little else.
And it allows Afreeca to set themselves up for this next Baron that's spawning in 25 seconds. Lehens will clear out vision, but the Baron inhibitor has been taken now by the Afreeca Freecs. No longer do you need Kramer to be bottom side. He's going to be spawning again in 10 seconds. Death time is not long enough for Griffin to be able to punish. He'll quickly move over, and then Super Creeps are going to do the work here as Keen continuing to shove these waves forward. He's got teleport available, and with Super Creeps, he can threaten Nexus turrets.
Well, Griffin are trying to make a creative play around the Baron. It's going to be easily spotted by Afreeca.
Yeah, Afreeca said, yeah, you can't play our game.
But Lehens?
Yeah, Lehens actually looking for more. True Shot Barrage once again going to fly forward as Kuro, he's ignited. The ultimate's going to fly forward. Oh, the axe going to be dodged. And now Kramer getting free. Autos Tarzan too far forward. Gets expertly baited by Kuro, who eventually does fall. But a 2-for-1, you'll take that as the Afreeca Freecs. And Keen says that once again, he wants to win the game by himself.
Sometimes in competitive play, you don't need player cams to see the desperation on the Griffin faces. Another game where Tarzan is doing his best to find a pick while bad things are happening around him. He goes down, they can't kill Kuro. Afreeca on their second Baron of the game. This time the smite is there to secure it. They don't get a Nexus turret, but they get damn close to one, and Afreeca Freecs get Baron number 2.
Yep, all too easy. Stopwatch and QSS available from Kramer as well, who just wants to be as safe as possible, able to do exactly what he wants. And this is one of those games, Papa, we're talking about those experiences that we've all had in League of Legends. It just feels like Afreeca has 10 players on the map and Griffin has 5. There's just no way that Griffin can find anything without Afreeca taking more from them.
This feels like a game where Griffin are trying their best to iterate. Game 1 was the best sign of that, right? Where they played a comp that didn't play to their usual strengths. Great sidesteps by Kuro in this pick. But then by Game 3, they have to fall back on something. They're coming back after a loss in a best-of-5 in the semifinals of the LCK. They are this royal roading team with all these rookies, 6 rookies, and a rookie coach. And Afreeca Freecs, as a counterpoint to Griffin trying to fall back, are making League of Legends so malleable. They're reinventing so many expectations. It's like putty in their hands over the course of the wildcard match into the match against Kingzone. They've reinvented the meta in some ways. Kingzone thought the meta was 1-3-1. Afreeca said, before 1 can work, if you make any mistakes, we'll punish you. In this game, they're trying to roll the meta on again and again, and that's where they're surprising Griffin. That's where all the experience is working out for the side of Afreeca Freecs. They've got so many different approaches to the game, and they're catching Griffin out again and again.
Yeah, and Tucson, he's not going to get caught out. He's actually just happy to be found here in the jungle. Baron buff still swirling around the Afreeca Freecs who want to break open the inhibitors top and mid. Kramer not going to get hit by the undertows. Now, where does Afreeca Freecs strike next? Is the answer, is the question.
Makes you wish that Afreeca Freecs were at Worlds last year, this Afreeca Freecs, which of course weren't together, purely because they seem like the one squad we have in Korea that would look at the Ardent meta and be like, there's a way to beat this, and actually look for it, rather than just saying, well, every game's 1-3-1, Ryzenar is God tier. They already shattered that idea of what the meta is in patch 8.15 in Korea. They're clearly, with all this internal scrims, with all the respect to their coaching staff, really turning the wheel. And it seems to be too much for Griffin currently to actually bear fruit.
And it's also about flexibility and experience for all of these players. You mentioned names like Kramer, Kuro, Spirit. You can talk about these even 4 years ago, and people knew exactly who you were talking about. Griffin spoke about them last split. No one had any idea what they were doing. Experience does allow you to have more flexibility in best-of-5s like this, which is why moving into this series, the smart money probably was on the Afreeca Freecs, because in a best-of-5, they're the ones with the LCK experience. All right, Kuro gonna dodge out of the way of Lehens with his flash. Lehens also used his flash as well, but I think the cow is just dead. Kramer, Killer Instinct got him in there, and Nexus turrets now falling on the bottom side. The Nexus not going to be able to be taken just yet as the inhibitor does respawn, but immediately gets taken again by Keen. Tarzan, nothing he can do against Tucson, which is a huge problem as Kramer gets it with the last bolt of his Q, eaten by Sword afterwards. But now, can they actually get anything done as Tarzan will get ripped to shreds by the Slicing Maelstrom and the auto attacks of Cannon, who flashes after Chovy as well. And Sword, he's tanky. He ain't tanky enough. And Afreeca looking to put themselves 2-1 in this series as Nexus number 2 will go, Inhibitor number 2 will go down. The Nexus sure to follow. As you can see, it's desperation from Chovy and just doesn't know what to do to try and win this game.
There's nothing they can do, Atlas. It's going to be Afreeca Freecs going up 2-1 on the red side. Griffin can't get the victory. A bit of attempt to try to clear him away, but it's not going to work.
Nope, Nexus is going to go down now, and Afreeca, all they need is a red side win.